Okay, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be discussing a very important topic and a topic that I find myself speaking over and over about. It's super, super important, and that's money mindset and imposter syndrome. And I'm going to present to you a few ideas and concepts that might help you flip the switch when it comes to this mindset, because I feel that anything that holds us back financially is a representation of something that's holding back our entire movement, and it's holding us back from delivering value into the marketplace. One of the things I've learned from my mentor, Jim Rohn, is that the amount of money you make is directly proportional to the amount of value that you deliver into the marketplace. Remember, into the marketplace, not just to your patients, not just to the people that are in your inner circle. So one of the things that you'll probably observe from me is I'm always putting out free content. I'm putting out the best content that I possibly can, because that is what I want to flood the marketplace with. And then I don't really attach myself to outcomes, because we get paid in so many different ways. So money is probably the easiest way to measure how we get paid, but there's other ways that we get paid. We get paid in opportunity. We get paid in catching the green light. We get paid in getting the parking spot up front, or not getting caught in the rain. I literally cannot remember the last time I was caught in the rain. I have a hard time remembering not finding a parking spot somewhere, when I go to an event that's very close to where I want to be. And it's not because I'm special, because we all have this capability, but it's because these are ways that I get paid. And I have an awareness, this constant awareness of all the beautiful things that happen in my life and all the beautiful, beautiful people that come into my life. And I count that as a currency. It's a currency that I call karmic currency. So we have to first recognize that there's multiple ways that we get paid. Money is the easiest way to measure how we get paid, and it's a direct reflection of the amount of value that we deliver into the marketplace before people pay us, not after people pay us. So many of us entrepreneurs, we obviously get the attention of prospective patients, and what we do makes sense to them. So then they come in and see us, and then we deliver high amounts of value. And that's great. And we should continue to do that. But don't ever think that that's going to make you wealthy. What's going to make you wealthy is doing the exact opposite and delivering tremendous amounts of value to people before they ever pay you. So that's what we call the giver's gain mentality. Some of you may or may not know this, but I used to work for BNI. I think I was a treasurer or the vice president, whichever one was the least amount of work, but forced me to be there. And so I went every week for 3 years. And in fact, I guaranteed that I would go there because I hosted these meetings at my office. So it forced me to be there every single Thursday morning. And every single Thursday morning, I went there trying to give and put more value into these people's lives, and getting really dialing in what my message was. And what I learned from BNI is probably the most important thing ever, not just the public speaking skills, but also that giver's gain. So ask yourself first and foremost, if your money situation isn't right, are you asking first or are you giving first? Okay. Now, some of us do give, but sometimes we don't give the best information that we have, or we don't give the highest amount of value because we're afraid it's going to cannibalize our practice. And if you look at what we've done, we actually give away our best information. So our 30 and 30 program is 30 days of my best information that, yes, you could pay me $3,000 to tell you, or here it is for free, right? Take it and run with it and do something with it and change your life, because I know that I'm going to get paid in other ways. Okay. So I hope this makes sense to you. And this, this is something that you have to kind of, I don't want to say believe in, because it's not a belief system. It's the way the universe works. But you have to kind of accept that this is how it works, and submit to it, and just kind of live in that energy. And when you do that, I promise things will change. I spoke to my financial advisor yesterday because we're doing some restructuring in our business and stuff like that. And he told me that looking at our numbers, we have one of the most efficient and profitable businesses he's ever seen. And he evaluates so many types of different businesses, and the numbers that we all have the potential to do are unheard of in any other industry. Okay, so the efficiency at which you heal people, the efficiency at which you can make a profit, the efficiency at which you can operate, the number of lives that you can change, the number of people that you can employ. We pay all of our team members above average, so it's not like we're gouging anyone. in order to get those results. So everyone stays happy. Like what we do is unheard of in any other type of business, but it takes a certain mindset and an investment in your community to see those outcomes. So I promise you that you're never going to go poor by giving. Okay. You're going to go poor by not giving. And especially each and every one of us has talents. We have gifts. We have so much to offer into the world. We should be giving and putting out as much of that as possible. And I promise you that there's people out there that can't fix their problems on their own, and they're going to come to you. Okay. I would argue that 80% of the population actually doesn't need you. They just need to love themselves, and we can show them those steps that they need to do. But there are 20% of people that do need you. And that 20% is an astronomically huge number. Okay. So think about how many people have chronic disease and take 20% of that. That's a number that is unfathomable to you. Okay. A busy practice might be, 300 to 400 new patients, a year. And we're talking millions upon millions of people that need your services. So there's never going to be a shortage of, sick people. Okay. And 20% of that, what's 20% of like infinity, right? It's like infinity. You're never going to run out of people to help. So don't feel like you're ever going to cannibalize what you do by helping people get healthy. In fact, to me, that's the best possible scenario is I don't do anything. And while I am sleeping, people are being helped. While I am sleeping, other people around the world or people who are up reading my emails or watching my videos are getting better in some way. To me, that's magical. That's what makes me sleep at night. And so when you're delivering value into the marketplace, that's when you're setting up a situation of abundance in your life. That's when everything seems to go right in your life. Okay. And so that's a very important mentality to start with. Now, one of the things that we have to remember is why our business exists. Our business exists not to solve our financial problems. Our business exists to solve people's healthcare challenges. So what are we doing? What are we putting first? Okay. Are we putting other people's problems first and solving them? Or are we putting our problems first and then secondarily trying to solve other people's problems? And I know that's kind of the chicken and the egg question, but I want you to contemplate that. Okay. So what are you leading with? What foot do you got these 2 feet, right? One foot is, solving people's problems. The other foot is solving, your own problems. Cause of course we don't want to go hungry. We want to be of service and we want to be operating out of a good vibration, but which foot do you step with first? So ask yourself that question. And for some of us, you might feel like you're in a situation where, hey, I've got to solve my problems first, but guess what? The only way you're going to solve your problems is by first solving other people's problems. So what can you do to do that? Now, another thing to keep in mind is when we help other people with this giver's gain attitude, those people can become ambassadors of our brand. The ultimate goal of your business is not to generate money, but it's to generate ambassadors, because ambassadors help you with geometric growth. Okay, if you have somebody at the top of the mountain shouting out that you're the best person in the world and they've never come and see you, that person to your business is worth a lot more than the $3,000 that somebody paid you and never got and never referred anyone else. Okay, so the value to your business or the assets in your business, one of the biggest assets in your business is ambassadors. How many people know, like, and trust you, having never used your services or having used your services? Those are the people that are your ultimate assets, okay? And so you want to keep that in mind, that your goal is to create as many brand ambassadors as possible, whether they pay you to be a patient or not. And in fact, I think that the people who are people who've come to your office and never used your services, sometimes those people have the biggest mouths. Those are the people that refer you the most positive energy because you help that person without them having to pay you. And to me, that's kind of magical when you really think about it. And to them, it's magical as well. Okay. So keep that in mind as well. Now, some of the things that people will say about money is that money is the root of all evil. And, usually, those people have a broken money mindset. I know some people with some pretty deep pockets and they do some amazing things. So don't let the 1% of the 1% who do bad things, because that exists in every profession, in every subcategory of life, not just in the financial area of life. Don't let those people taint what your perception of money is. It's with money we've been able to build a hospital. It's with money we've been able to build an orphanage. It's with money that we can operate without being stressed out, and operate, out of pure love for our community and for our patients. It's with money we can hire good talent and pay them well so they stay. And so, all of these things are a result of, financial prosperity. And that financial prosperity should always come from doing good. There's nothing wrong with making money if you're doing something good for the world. There's actually something wrong if you're not making money and you're doing something good in the world, because that means that whatever you're doing hasn't been adopted by people. Okay. So you should feel, I don't want to say terrible, but you should feel bad if you're not making money. Don't feel bad if you are making money. Okay. If the way you make money represents a positive transformation in the world, of whether it's your community, whether it's the individual, whether it's the charities that you give to, then you've got to feel good about that. Okay. So my wife and I, we want to build hundreds of these hospitals, and it's not going to happen unless we deliver value into the marketplace, that we have an awareness of all the blessings that are coming to us. So we continue, putting good value into the marketplace, and then having ambassadors that love our brand, that love what we represent, that love what we do. I mean, that's how this is all going to happen. Okay. And it's not going to happen by just people coming into our office and making transactions. So you have to really think big picture when it comes to money. Money is essentially stored energy. That's all it is, right? It's work that you've done. Okay. And that work then gets stored into like a digit in a bank account, or, on a piece of paper. And that money can then do work, right? So I can give somebody that money and I can make them lift things and push things and move things and type and, do art. So these are the things that we have to realize, is that money is simply energy. Okay. It's a form of energy. It's part of the pie of energy of your life. But, I believe it's the smallest slice. And I believe it's a small slice because when you have gratitude and you have awareness, then you pay attention to all the other ways that you're getting paid. And certainly money isn't everything, but you need it, right? And you've got to have enough of it so that you can feel, your best self, right? You can buy the right food. You can have the right environment that you stay in. You can take vacations as you need them. You can eat food that's healthy for you. You can take the supplements that you need. You can get the testing that you need. You can give back to your church or your community, whatever you want. Like, you should have at least those things taken care of, and then 10x that, in my opinion, so you can do good with it. I also believe that money follows the path of least resistance. And some of us are not good receivers. So think about this the next time somebody even pays you a compliment. Okay. I would even actually challenge you to do this exercise. I want you to do it. The next 10 people, I want you to pay them a genuine compliment. And then I want you to see how they respond to that compliment. So my wife is really notorious for this, because if you pay her a compliment, she's actually going to respond to you, and she's getting better at this, but she's going to respond to you with saying something negative about what you complimented her on. Okay. So if I say, oh my God, the soup tastes amazing, she might say, you think so? I think I added too much salt. Okay. And so that is a sign of somebody who's not consciously a good receiver. Okay. Instead, she could have said, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay. I enjoyed it as well. So how we receive compliments is also a indicator probably of how we receive, other compliments, like money, for example. So if we're not good at receiving things, we need to unblock that in some way, because that could be holding us back as well. Now, one of the things we talked about a lot with coaching clients is, how people value time, and how you value time has to be in alignment, because sometimes we feel like we're delivering more value by spending more time with people. But what we also have to realize is the actions that people take determine the value of our services. So the longer I keep somebody in my office, and I'm going to use extremes, okay? If I tell somebody everything that they need to do and I keep them hostage in my office for 2 weeks, then guess what? They can't action anything I told them to do, okay? But if I get them out the door as quickly as possible and as excited as possible, and I've given them, a few things that they can work on that isn't going to overwhelm them, and they leave and they take action, guess what? That's how the value of our engagement gets multiplied. Okay. So the sooner you can get somebody out of your office taking action, that's how you actually deliver value. Now, some people, what you have to remember is, if they're like me, time is of the essence. So, let's get to the point. Tell me what I need to do so I can go and do it. Okay. These are action takers. These are, usually D personalities. So when you have these type of personalities, spending more time with them, okay, actually backfires. And sometimes the things that we value are not what other people value. So, growing up, if, let's say hypothetically that quality time is your love language, then you're going to try to add value into other people's lives by spending more time with them. But if that isn't somebody else's love language, or that isn't, unconsciously programmed into something that they value, then it's going to backfire. So don't feel like spending more time with somebody is delivering more value to them. Okay. Now, the other thing I want you to keep in mind is that with money, and some of you may be in this position, some of you may not be in this position, and you have to change your strategy accordingly. But for those of you that are in a somewhat decent financial position, where let's say 3 to 6 months of your next 3 to 6 months of your expenses are somewhat covered, then guess what? You don't have to worry about living check to check. And what you can do with your time is you can put more value out there into the world and invest into putting out into your community, and that will pay you huge dividends on the back end. Okay, so if you don't need the money now, then that money in your bank account doesn't really change your quality of life, right? So if somebody were to put another $100,000 in my bank account, nothing would change in my life. I would still be here. I'd still be doing everything that I'm doing. Okay, now that might be different for some of you on this call, or people in the regular world, but it wouldn't do anything for me. Okay, so putting more money in my bank account doesn't really change what I wake up for and what drives me every single day, which means that I can approach every single day with a completely different frequency. I can put stuff out there and get excited about different things besides money. And so the reason I say that is because if you're in that position, then remember, it's up to you to deliver as much value and put out as much value as possible. And I promise you that it'll come back to you, so that, you can take your foot off the gas sometimes. That's okay. But you don't take your foot off the gas of delivering value to people. Okay. One of the things that I had to do when I first started my business is I had this realization that if I'm living, kind of patient to patient or paycheck to paycheck out of my business, then I'm going to operate with a completely different frequency. And I'm going to be saying yes to people for the wrong reasons. So what I did is I fortunately had enough of a line of credit in my home at the time that I was able to take out a loan. And I asked myself, okay, if I just go completely bare bones, what's the minimum amount of money I need to pay my bills? And guess what? I figured that out. It was like $12,000. And guess what? That's how much money I took out. And then I didn't think about money after that. All I thought about is, how do I deliver value? How do I put myself in a position that I say yes to the right people, and I'm in a position where I can say no to people and control my space? So some of you might need to take out a loan, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Every business takes out a loan. You think that when people open up their chiropractic offices, they're doing it without a loan, or a dental office or an optometry clinic? Like every other practitioner with a real business takes out a loan, right? I mean, you're well positioned to pay it back, so you don't have to worry about that, but you won't be well positioned if you don't have the money to take action. The other thing some of you might struggle with is asking other people for help when it comes to money, because you might feel, and this is the ego coming in, you might feel like, I'm a doctor, and so I shouldn't have to ask other people for money. And sometimes, let's face it, it can feel a little embarrassing. So because the outside perception that people have of healthcare providers is that we're all like loaded, right? And we just graduate from school and the Benz is waiting out front for us, and we put a shingle up on our door and the practice floods itself. No, it's a lot of work, especially with the work that we do, because it's new work, right? It's like changing the direction of the river. It's going to take work for that to happen. And we're having that river go backwards. So think about how much work it is for us to do this. So don't be afraid to ask people for help, whether it's the bank, if you want to keep it, strictly business wise, or if it's even asking family members for help. Okay. Because, if it's your parents, they want you to be successful. Unfortunately for me, when I was going through my challenges, I had just built a home. My son was a year old. My wife never went back to work because she had major complications after giving birth to Devin. And my parents lost their business, and the company I worked for owed me $60,000, and I had to walk away from that. So I know what it feels like to be down and out. And then after I walked away from that, I had about $10,000 left to my name. And some guy ripped me off for $7,000 because he was going to produce a TV show with me, which I'd already recorded. So I got scammed out of that. So I was like kicked when I was down. So I know, trust me, I know what that feels like, but I also know the mindset and the shifts that had to take place in order for me to come out of that. And it's not maybe the conventional way of thinking of these things. So put yourself in a position, whether it's through borrowing money or whether it's through asking for money from the right people. Trust me, people love and care about you and they're happy to support you, okay, despite what you might think. And I know banks are happy to give you money, especially to practitioners, because they know you can pay it back. But be in a position where you can operate out of abundance and the right frequency, as opposed to not having that frequency and operating out of desperation, because patients can sense that, and it's just not a good feeling. So if you feel like anxious and jittery, and you feel like you're going into the appointment and it's like driving you crazy whether this person's going to start care or not, or every call that you get on, I mean, that's not the energy you want to be putting out into the world. So get that loan if you need it, and that's okay, because the way your business works, if you're charging case fees, you can turn your financial situation around very quickly. Okay, you can do one workshop, okay, and put 5 digits in your bank account. Like, the situation can change very quickly. So the key is, the situation will only change if the frequency and the vibration and the mindset changes first. Okay. And then, one of the things that we always want to do with money is we want to keep it flowing. So you always want to pay it forward. So remember, money is energy, right? Like, a battery doesn't like to sit in a drawer. Like, what is a battery? Just like money, a battery is stored energy. A battery, when you plug it into something, does work. And when something is doing the work that it was meant to do, just like how you're doing the work you're meant to do, that's how it delivers value into the world. A battery doesn't like to sit in a drawer, right? And if you think about a battery doesn't gain a charge as it's sitting in a drawer. It actually has less of a charge, right? Batteries, believe it or not, have expiration dates. So money has the same scenario. Money depreciates in your bank account because they just keep printing more of it, right? So you've got to put that money into areas that you believe in, whether it's contribution or whether it's financial vehicles, whether it's real estate, whether it's Bitcoin, I don't know, whatever it is. But that money has to keep working. It has to keep adding value into the world, and it has to grow as well, because if it doesn't, it's actually losing value. Just like a battery, it's losing its charge because of inflation and because they just keep printing more. So that money has to be doing something. So because it's energy, it likes to be utilized. Just like water, if you block a river and the river becomes stagnant, what happens to all the wildlife? It starts becoming stagnant, right? The forest dies, like the horticulture changes, because we stagnated that flow. So think of money flowing through your bank account just like a river would flow. And guess what? There's always more, right? That river, it just never stops flowing, because there's always going to be snow and there's always going to be rain, and it'll just keep flooding it. Okay. But when the river becomes stagnant, right, then the more it backs up, the more it destroys. Okay. So it doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do. It doesn't drain into the ocean or into the lake. Now, one thing that is also important to recognize is, your attitude towards how you plan your year. So every year, my wife and I, we don't, when people visualize how much money they want to make, because people say that, ask yourself how much money you want to make. Well, we actually go a step further. I want to know what's going to happen to that money. And so I think about, the things that I'm going to do with that money, not just how much I'm going to make, so, that's one, I don't want to say trick, but that's one thing that we've done that I think is different than what most people do, is actually visualize what we're going to do with it. And so for us, how many schools are we going to build? How many scholarships are we going to give away? What are we going to do? How is this money going to flow through our lives? That's what we're planning when we plan our finances. So you might want to try that as well. Instead of saying I'm going to make $250,000, which doesn't really mean anything, because you could spend all of it too, or you could lose all of it, or something could happen to it. What matters is, what am I going to do with my money? What would I like to do with the resources that come my way? And I feel like by thinking a few steps forward and not worrying so much about how it's going to happen, but knowing what you're going to do is really how the universe works. So, visualize that. What are you going to do with the money? How is it going to flow through you as it does what it's supposed to do? Okay. All right. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind as well is that I want you guys to really, ask yourself, and sometimes this is going to be difficult for you to assess. I mean, I'm assuming that most of you have parents or grandparents that at some point were alive. What happens is our money mindset usually gets imprinted into us between the age of 0 and 7. So between the age of 0 and 7 is when our brain is operating at a frequency where we're essentially a sponge. And because we're a sponge, we can't, in our left and right brain aren't connected. So we see things happening, but we can't apply logic to them. Okay. So we can't attach meaning to them. And so we just accept things as they are without questioning them. So sometimes our parents or our grandparents who may have had a true scarcity situation around money or a broken belief system around money, these people may have installed your money mindset. So I know that when my parents came from India to Canada in a foreign country, their exit, was not necessarily their education. Their exit strategy was, how do I stay afloat? And, how do I leverage my education so that I can stay afloat and put food on my table and raise my family? And so their perception around money and what they focus on when it comes to money is going to be radically different. So I'll give you an example. My father, and less my mom, but more my dad, because he does most of the shopping, knows the price of gas at like every gas station along a route that I would be taking on a drive from Cincinnati to Toronto. So he'll tell me, take, exit, 121 because gas is cheaper there. And so one day, I called him out on it. This was a few years ago. And I said, Dad, like my gas tank is 16 gallons and the difference in price is 3 cents, which means I'm going to save, like 48 cents. And so what we're talking about here is 48 cents and saving 48 cents, assuming I stop there. And so we had an agreement where we wouldn't talk about money unless it involved 4 figures. And this is like a running joke in my house because it costs more money to talk about this when we could be talking about something that's a lot more meaningful than saving 50 cents. And what I've learned is that people who focus on the right-hand side of the decimal point, which is people who focus on pennies, will always focus on pennies. What I want you to focus on is on the left-hand side of the decimal point and on the other side of that comma, because when you focus on bigger numbers, then guess what? Bigger numbers present themselves your way. But if you're always focusing on pennies, then that's what's going to happen is you're always going to be looking at that. And so when you get a raise, it's going to be in pennies, right? It's not going to be in the thousands, it's going to be in the pennies. And so our money mindset, a lot of it comes from our parents. Now, sometimes our parents can show us what to do, and sometimes they can be examples of what not to do. So you have to, as an adult, kind of decide and think back and ask yourself, okay, if I have the same money values as my parents, is that serving me? Or is it not serving me? And the quickest way to know if it's serving you is by looking at your bank account. What is the situation of your bank account? Because that's a reflection of your money mindset, right? Like each and every one of you on this call has a 1% education. You have an education that literally less than 1% of the population has. So it's not your education that's a challenge, okay? You all do great work. You all do meaningful work that transforms people's lives, right? At an exceptional value, okay? So what you do is far less expensive and more effective than what's currently being done, right? So why aren't you the richest people in our community? Why aren't you driving the nicest cars? Why aren't you giving the most contribution to the charities in your community? Why isn't that you, right? It's not your education. It's not what you do. It's not your value system. It's your mindset, right? And mindset is what creates vibration. Remember, people say, and this is really important. I should have said this earlier, but people think that time is more valuable than money. Well, you know what's more valuable than time? It's what you think about, because what you think about actually builds your reality. What you think about creates a resonant frequency and propagates it in every direction into infinity and organizes matter to correspond with what you think about. So if you're spending time at home with your family, but you're thinking about something else, okay, that's the highest frequency that you produce, right? Remember, time is going to pass. It's what you think about that matters more than anything else. And it's what you propagate into the world. You know, you're a radio, but you're a radio station, and you're also an antenna. And your mind is so powerful at creating whatever reality you have up here that it will just keep appearing again and again and again and again in your life. So I'm hoping that, you know, from my experiences, you know, what we've been able to do in a short period of time, that you could pick up some of these nuggets or all of these nuggets and do something with it. Okay. So I went from 7 years ago being basically broke, okay, having to start a new business, same business as you guys, okay, and then 2 years after that had to move to a new country and start all over again, okay. And in 7 years, I've become more than a millionaire, right? So I met with my accountant or financial advisor yesterday, and but here's the thing, I don't even know that, because that's not what I'm focused on, okay? But he was like blown away at what we had accomplished in such a short period of time. So here's the thing, you have the tools, you have the training, you have the skills, you have the population that's sick and unwell, you have the platforms, all the technology, everything that you need is there, okay? The only thing that needs to click now is up here. And when this clicks, and when it does click, then your behaviors will change, how you look at things will change, everything in your life will start to change, and then you will start attracting the right circumstances into your life. You'll start attracting the right people into your life, the right opportunities into your life. And so the greatest ways I've been paid is not financially. The greatest ways that I've been paid is through opportunity. And those opportunities come because you put good things out in the world. Like all of my opportunities that you guys see coming my way are coming from putting out content on social media, sharing that message, putting it out there, and people, you know, they notice. They're like, wow, this guy's super passionate about what he does. So I have the same tools that you guys do. Okay. I'm just a little bit ahead because I've been doing it a little bit longer, but I'm sharing with you the exact mindset that I used around money and framing it correctly so that it's not something that I have to think about. Okay. It's not something that's constantly on my mind. What's constantly on my mind and has always been on my mind from day one of starting this business is, how can I be of service? How can I give more than I expect in return? So, you know, one of our income goals this year, if I do have to talk about it, you know, I like to talk about how we're going to give, but I'll talk about our income goals is to, let's say, go to 10 million. Okay. So the only way we're going to go to 10 million is by adding $100 million worth of value. So it's a daunting task to think about, how can I add $100 million worth of value into the marketplace to then expect to make 10 million. But here's the thing, we're already doing that. We're just going to do more of it. We're going to put more of our best content out there to help even more people and help more practitioners, and then allow them to help even more patients in their communities. And so that's the key. Give, 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 and then detach yourself from the fruit. Okay. Because here's the thing, if you think that the only way you get paid is in money, and I just told you that money is the smallest slice of the pie and how the universe pays you, you're always going to be disappointed. You're always, 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 always going to be disappointed, because it's never going to be the whole pie, right? But if you have an attitude of gratitude and you have a conscious and continuous awareness of your beautiful life that's unfolding in front of you, and you see, you know, how that parking spot that's open for you is part of how you get paid. You see how beautiful people coming into your life is how you get paid. You see the smile on your children's face is how you get paid. You see the beautiful sunshine is how you get paid. Then guess what? Everything changes for you. Okay. But if all you do is have your nose in your bank account, then nothing's going to change for you. In fact, everything we focus on only magnifies in our life. So having this switch is something that truly, truly remarkably helped me. Okay. And, you know, I've never had a negative month in my office, not even 1 month ever. And none of you should either. But remember, I did take that loan out. Okay. And that loan was paid back very, very quickly. I think I paid it back in 8 weeks, because it put me in a position to have the right frequency. And that right frequency attracted the right people. And then the awareness that I had that, hey, I'm getting paid by people coming in, and I'm also getting paid by all these amazing things that are happening. that awareness really changed my attitude towards giving. And so the giver's gain mentality is probably one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you. So I want to leave with this. I want to give you, I could talk about this for hours and hours. And I hope you can tell that I've done a lot of work personally in this area, because I had to overcome, some really broken money mindsets. But, just like 10, really, ranging in complexity ways that you can give. So give people quick wins and tips on Facebook. Okay. Facebook groups are a great way for you to add value, and have a weekly Q&A. Okay. If you're answering people's questions, then that's awesome. People complain about, oh my God, people always email me with questions. Well, if you have that attitude, that's not the right attitude, because, people could have Googled something. They could have gone to Wikipedia, they could have gone to Google, they could have found the information online. But the fact that they emailed you or messaged you is not because they're freeloaders, it's because they trust you. And that's one of the things that we need. We need know, like, and trust factor. And trust comes last, and that person trusts you, and now you're pissed off that they trust you. Okay, so wrong attitude. But if you switch that, amazing. I answer every question that comes in. I don't charge people because I'm adding value into the marketplace. Next thing is volunteer somewhere. And then you get to really give first, okay? Volunteering allows you to follow a principle where you give and there's no possibility for you to gain back. That's why we built the orphanage and hospital in Africa. There's no way for me to benefit from that directly, okay? I wanted to create a situation where it's just pure giving to people. Donate to a cause that means something to you, okay? Your money is multiplied when it's used for service, okay? Next thing is prepare ebooks or guides or cookbooks that people can download. That's a way to deliver value. In-office workshops, to the public, that's a way to deliver value. Gratitude journals, like one of the things that we do in our office is our patients get gratitude journals and we refill them, okay? So if your gratitude journal is full, I'll replace it to you for you for life for free. And the reason we do that is because every time you open up that journal, you're probably thinking of us either consciously or unconsciously because we gave it to you, okay? And then become a better receiver. So pay attention now. How do you receive compliments? How do you accept when people say something nice about you? Do you feel weird about it? Are you awkward about it? Do you kind of negate the compliment in some way and not receive it properly? Because that's probably unconsciously how you receive money as well. You can also do value-driven webinars, for example, and then, help others get what they want. So Zig Ziglar always says this, is you can have anything and everything in this world you want if you help other people get what they want. And it starts by helping other people first. And once you do that, amazing things will start unfolding in your life. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope this gives you, something to chew on. I hope there was something that perhaps triggered you to see things in a different light so that you could, overcome some of these self-limiting beliefs. But what you guys do is extraordinary. It's amazing. It's unheard of. From a business perspective, I've been told that by the top accounting firm in the world. From a financial perspective, my financial advisor just told me this. From a service perspective, like nobody it really does. A lot of the things that you guys have the capability of doing, and certainly some of the things that we've done. And I only say this, like, not to toot our horn, but I want you guys to like see the results of this framework of thinking, okay? Think about how much good can be done if all of you adopted this framework. And I just want you guys to know, I come from nothing, okay? I went to go see my dad's house, like in India, like our family comes from nothing. It comes from hard work. It comes from effort. Like that's what my parents instilled in me. But I took that hard work and effort and I looked and I utilized it through a different paradigm. And when I did that, and when it switched, when the switch flipped, which I hope it did for some of you today, and it might have to hear this over and over again for it to flip, but that's when things changed. Okay. And it's just been an amazing journey. And I want that for all of you, because you all deserve it and you have the capability of it. And many people on this planet don't have the capability that you have to really change, humanity. So, you need to be successful, but that success comes from creating the right mindset, and that mindset then creates the right reality for you. So hope that helps. And, I would always obviously love your feedback. I hope that there's some resonance here and it gives you a major breakthrough. Thank you.